Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, November 20, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we need to take a look at the Atlantic hurricane and tropical storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020. It's time to take a look at climatology. So we're basically somewhere down in here, considering that today is November 20, definitely falling off of the mountain of tropical storm and hurricane activity. Only 10 more days left in general, so you know, we're happy about that. We don't want any more systems, no more tropical depression, storms, or hurricanes. We are definitely grateful that the hurricane season is wrapping up. And as you can see, although we can have some activity taking place, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing anything at all. And we're grateful for that. As it relates to these tropical and subtropical cyclone points of origins and tracks, keep in mind that this map is showing information based on data from 1851 to 2023, and we're looking at the time period from November 21 to November 30. All of these yellow dots represent where we've seen a tropical system form. We see one right here to the north of Panama, one right here to the north of eastern Honduras, one right here just to the east of the Yucatan Peninsula, a couple of them right here across the waters to the north of the Caribbean, in and around the Bahamas, east of Florida, a lot of them over in here as well. And we see the tracks that they take curving and twisting around and pushing northward. One right here that formed right across northern Trinidad, right there between Trinidad and Tobago, and then it pushed northward. We also see a couple of them have formed right here in the eastern Pacific, just to the south of Mexico too, pushing westward if not northwestward. So yes, we can still have activity over the last 10 days of November, but it doesn't really seem like that's going to be taking place at all. And we see even the typical tracks on origins map confirming that this is the hotspot, the Western Caribbean, if not the Southwestern Caribbean, and the usual tracks towards the north and northeast, similar to what Melissa did. Taking a look at the sea surface temperatures, these are the anomalies, and they're showing what the ocean skin is looking like in terms of the warmth. And this is based on the information that came out on November 19. And as you can see, the La Nina is coming along right in here. You know that La Nina has to do with the cooler than average sea surface temperatures as represented by the blues. That in turn causes less activity across the eastern Pacific and more activity across the Atlantic in general. So we see even across the Atlantic, we have a lot of very warm sea surface temperatures. All of these yellows into the oranges, that represents maybe up to 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal. And we know that these are the sea surface temperatures that the hurricanes definitely work with. This is what they love in general. And it's not only about how warm the waters are at the skin of the ocean, but even how warm the waters are the deeper we go into the ocean. This map right here is the ocean heat content map that came out today, November 20. And all of these greens, yellows, oranges represents all of the deep, warm Caribbean waters. And as you can see, the warmest water still across the Caribbean, in and around Haiti, in and around Jamaica, the Western Caribbean right in here. Even although Melissa has churned up a lot of that warm water, there's still a lot more warm water to work with. But we're grateful that hurricane season is wrapping up, so no more systems are going to be out there to try to, try to use up any of the very warm waters at all. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:02 p.m. Jamaica time. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why not much of anything across the Atlantic. Some troughs here and there, frontal systems here and there, nothing trying to acquire the next name on the list, which is Nestor at all. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic, we can see that trough right here that was affecting the southern Bahamas. It now extends into eastern Cuba and even down into Jamaica. There's another trough right here that was yesterday to the southeast of Dominican Republic, now it's to the south of Haiti. And we can see another trough right here to the northeast of the Caribbean, to the north of that trough a frontal system, to the west of that frontal system another trough, to the northwest of that trough some more frontal systems extending into the eastern US. We see a frontal system right in here that has induced a trough across the western edge of it, across the northern portion of North Atlantic, and we see the red line associated with the intertropical convergence zone extending all the way from the west coast of Africa all the way over into northern South America. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can make out all of the entities that we just mentioned. The clouds associated with that trough right in here still affecting Cuba and the southern Bahamas. The clouds associated with that other trough to the south of Haiti right in here. The clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone extending all the way from Africa across the main development region into northern South America into portions of the Windward Islands as well. We can see the frontal system right in here and the trough that has extended to the west of there. We see that other trough right here to the northeast of the Caribbean, and the frontal systems and the other trough right in here that we saw, all of what we saw on the surface map. Definitely seeing it on the visible satellite images. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Thursday, November 20, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast of parts of northeastern Jamaica on a Thursday morning, also affecting sections of some southern parishes during Thursday afternoon. We know northeastern parishes in Jamaica, we're talking about anywhere from St. Ann eastward, St. Mary, Portland, maybe sometimes eastern St. Thomas. While southern parishes, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. And what ended up happening? At around 2:55 p.m., the visible satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page with Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you cannot afford to miss. So we can see the clouds that are pushing in from the northeast. Look at the flow of the clouds pushing down from the northeast. And then, we have that relief rainfall, especially across Portland into St. Mary. A lot of clouds piling up across the Blue Mountains. And some of these clouds definitely spilled into sections of some southern parishes. I got home back to St. Thomas and it was definitely soaking wet in my part of St. Thomas. We also had some rainfall into sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine. So too sections of St. Elizabeth right in here. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost sunlight, we can make out all of what took place. The clouds definitely brought overcast skies, if not isolated showers, to sections of Portland into St. Mary, sections of St. Thomas into Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine. So two sections of Manchester into St. Elizabeth, maybe eastern Westmoreland, might have gotten on the overcast sky activity, if not the isolated shower activity as well. And even the infrared close-up satellite imagery is confirming some thunderstorm activity too. Look at those cloud tops being sheared off towards the south, if not the southeast. When we had those clouds, definitely formulating into some cumulonimbus clouds, not really significant, just the blues into the greens, basically the low end of the scale. In terms of cumulonimbus clouds, we don't even see any sparkling white dots in there. They represent lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. So it was more so some low to mid level to some low end of the scale, high level clouds over those spots. But we definitely had some rainfall wherever those clouds exploded. And even the halfway tree live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel showed that we had some moderate rainfall. This was at around 2:40 p.m. though, and we see people in their vehicles going about their business. Windshield wipers definitely on, umbrellas definitely out, as you can see here. Some persons without the umbrellas, but some decent rainfall definitely took place in the halfway tree area. Definitely to confirm what was predicted today. that would have gotten in on some of that rainfall across sections of some southern parishes as well. And if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today to our partner channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map does indeed paint quite the picture of where we had that rainfall today across sections of some northeastern and southern parishes. So anywhere from St. Ann eastward, St. Mary, sections of Portland, even although it was more so on the cloudy, if not isolated shower side, light rainfall side on the St. and into St. Mary side. Portland definitely got in on that rainfall, so to section of St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrews, St. Catherine, Clanner, Manchester into St. Elizabeth, and eastern Westmoreland for the most part. And we have a few comments that came in from some of our followers about what the weather was like in their area today. We have Marlon_OneGod posting on our Facebook page stating, placed cool and nice weather Jamaica. In what parish, Marlon? Let the viewers know the parish. Always let the viewers know the parish. We also have money._rain stating it started from midnight in St. Mary. It was heavy shower. Thank you for confirming. Even on our Instagram page, we had the same person confirming that they got that rainfall. Thank you all for confirming what the weather is like in your area for today. Hold on, I think I have some more Facebook comment. I think those that I just read might have been the Instagram comments. Boy, Instagram keeps changing things up. I don't even know how to work this anymore. Have you guys been seeing the new Instagram updates? My goodness, Instagram is annoying. Dante stating sun hot in Montego Bay right now. We also have Nick Wilson sitting in Kingston, the sun all over us downtown. I wonder what time that was posted. Okay, that was posted 3 hours ago. And we have Shantella Ellis sitting rainy in St. Thomas. Boy, I don't like this new view at all. Let me see if I can zoom in. Does it look bigger? Boy, I really can't stand updates. See, I can't even zoom down on the comments. Oh well. Alright, so that indeed confirms what was predicted today. Thanks for the comment. Alright, so let us reload the very latest still image here from the Weather Nerds website. The latest, well, we don't have the latest Jamaican Doppler radar imagery to show, still glitched out. So we're going to have to work with the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar imagery, because also the Cayman radar still down. So the latest still image here from the Weather Nerds website is showing 23:25 UTC, which is actually 6:25 p.m. So this just came out 5:10 15 16 minutes ago, considering that it's 6:41 p.m. right now. As you can see, some leftover clouds in the whitish shades across the eastern end and the western end. And we still have some convection right here off the coast of western or northwestern St. Elizabeth, right here off the coast of southeastern or eastern St. Thomas right in here. But do we actually have the Doppler radar to confirm what's happening underneath those clouds? No, we don't. Looks like the Cuban Doppler radar imagery glitched out at around 10:10 a.m. So, well, as you can see at that time, we were getting in on some greens into the yellows, representing some moderate into some slightly heavy rainfall across the waters just to the east of us. The Cayman, well, not the Cayman, Cayman is down, so we have to use the Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar, seeing some of that rainfall associated with the trough across southeastern Cuba. Let us see if we can make out what's happening now. Eastern and northeastern parishes, maybe far northeastern St. Thomas into pushing on northern Portland, getting on some rainfall. This is as of 23:20 UTC. So that just came out about 22 minutes ago. We should have some more updated image regarding that Guantanamo Bay radar. But that's what we're seeing, some rainfall across northeastern Jamaica at this time. Regarding what's happening in the Ocho Rios area, the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing that we have people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business, nothing in the way of bad weather taking place right now, and that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Friday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18:00 on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in the degrees. That represents average temperatures. I want to know the average temperature for the month of November across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit, And when excuse me, and that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So that should be Jamaica's temperature forecast for Friday. And we're grateful. No maintenance outages from my JPS online Twitter page to highlight, but boy, you know, out west they're still struggling without electricity, given what Melissa did over there. But I like this post though. They stated today 70 plus specialized trucks just rolled in. We're scaling up or rebuild. This massive deployment includes digger trucks and bucket trucks to help our crews work faster and safer to repair damaged lines. Our focus is clear: rebuilding Jamaica as quickly as possible. We're on it. I really like this post. We really need this. As you can see, many of the trucks right here coming in on the ships. Definitely a good look. Another one right here, another point of view. That is good. The more trucks, the better, so that we can get things sorted out. Alright, good. We have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. So if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, it states here that you're supposed to dress down. It's Friday. Dress down. Wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool. Stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. The dry air map, as you know, the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom: the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those words. We can see some dry air off the east coast of the US, some dry air in the Gulf, some dry air in and around the Greater Antilles, western to the Central Caribbean right here. We know that the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain in general. But we're seeing some moist air. Look at the moist air across the central to the eastern Caribbean into the main development region. Some moist air here and there. You know that the moist air is responsible for, you know, bringing us clouds, bringing us more rainfall in general. But look at the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days. We're heading into November 21, November 22, and November 23. And as you can see here, we have some amount of Saharan dust pushing through the main development region, but it is more so on the low end of the scale. We know that the vigorous plume is represented by the greens, yellows, oranges, and pinks, and we don't see any of that at all. We're seeing more greens than anything else, and as you can see, the more it pushes westward, the more it dwindles down, and we're grateful for that, because as you know, the Saharan dust can definitely cause hazy skies, not to mention trigger respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're indeed grateful that this is the forecast for the Saharan dust over the next 3 days. The wave forecast for tomorrow across the Caribbean shows the blues represent 1 to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's because of the easterly, if not east northeasterly, if not northeasterly flow of the winds, averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 or 20 knots in most cases. But if we zoom in on Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, to the north of Portland 1 meter wave height, to the north of St. Anne 1.1 meter wave height, to the north of Hanover 1.1 meter wave height as well, to the south of Westmoreland 0.4 of a meter wave height, to the south of Clarendon 0.6 of a meter wave height, while to the south of St. Thomas 0.9 of a meter wave height expected. And that's because of the winds that are expected. We see more of a northeasterly, if not east northeasterly flow of the winds across the north coast tomorrow, averaging 11 knots right here to the north of Trelawney. Looking more easterly right here to the south of St. Thomas, 11 knots. So we might still get in on more of that rainfall, that moist air from the northeast across the northeastern parishes, relief rainfall. And then during the afternoon, we see where we have the least amount of winds across the southern parishes once again. And that is where we could have some of these low-level clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds. That's where we could have that daytime heating, rainfall, and the upper-level winds for tomorrow coming in more so from the west than from the northwest. So if we actually get some more clouds to bring us some rainfall tomorrow, cloud tops would be sheared off towards this direction as opposed to the south, like what happened today. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 8 a.m. Jamaica time, and we can clearly see the rainfall in the blues across the northern parishes, especially St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, and the Euro. GFS showing something similar, more so St. Anne, well, it's more so St. Mary into eastern St. Thomas and Portland, maybe eastern St. Anne. We'll see it actually plays out. Then by around 3 p.m., we're seeing that afternoon rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. So not only are we still getting rainfall in St. Ann, St. Mary Portland, but we're getting rainfall in the blues across sections of St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, into Westmoreland, Hanover, sections of St. James, into southwestern Trelawney, getting on some of that. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that forecast. So it's looking like morning rainfall across the northeast, afternoon rainfall basically across eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. And just for reference, let me bring that map up for those new viewers. When we're referring to eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Ann, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. Alright, so regarding what's happening across the rest of the Caribbean. Hold on. Nope, not yet. So, yeah, I just looked at what's expected on the afternoon of Friday, November 21. Let us look at the total accumulated precipitation for the next 24 hours. Both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. And we see on the Euro that the most rainfall should be wherever the GFS has the same, up to 0.26 of an inch of rainfall in the northeast, maybe up to 0.29 of an inch of rainfall in the Portland area. The GFS going up to 0.28 of an inch of rainfall. In the St. Mary area, in the Portland area, 0.62 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. And whatever happens, we just have to take it. We're in the month of November, and in Portland, we usually receive 178 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 7 inches of rainfall. While in St. Thomas, we usually receive 176 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 6.9 inches of rainfall. And if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of November or for the entire year, you can visit nomadseason.com, and that website to show you that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS Supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours. That stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so 12 a.m. Saturday is actually 7 a.m. We're seeing moisture in the greens across the northeastern parishes on Saturday morning. Then, during the afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. Do we have agreement on the GFS? Saturday morning on the GFS, northern parishes again. Saturday afternoon on the GFS, eastern, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Sunday morning? Sunday morning, we're not really seeing much across Jamaica. And then on Sunday afternoon, not much either. What does the GFS show? Sunday morning, looks like rainfall across the north. Sunday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across the southern and southeastern end. We didn't see that on the Euro though. Maybe just some dots right here across the southern areas. We'll see. What do we see on Monday morning? Monday morning, we see some dots of greens across the north and the eastern end. Then on Monday afternoon, on the Euro, we're seeing some dots of greens across the southern and southwestern ends. What does the GFS show? For Monday morning, rainfall across the northern parishes. Monday afternoon, rainfall, maybe some isolated pockets across the southern coastal areas. What do we see on Tuesday morning? Tuesday morning, not really seeing much of anything more west than anything else. Maybe some eastern to central parishes during the afternoon on Tuesday with some rainfall. What do we see on the GFS? Tuesday morning, nothing. Tuesday afternoon, nothing at all. What do we see on Wednesday? So we're going into Wednesday and Thursday here on the Euro. Wednesday morning, not really much of anything on the Euro. Wednesday afternoon, maybe there's some isolated showers across the southeast. Then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Thursday, November 27. Don't really see much of anything, even though we see some moisture to the north of us. What do we see on the GFS for Wednesday into Thursday? Wednesday morning, moisture to the north of us. Then Wednesday afternoon, still some moisture to the north of us. Then we're stopping it also right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is also valid for Thursday, November 27. Don't see much of anything across Jamaica at all. But look at that. We're seeing what looks like a frontal system with all of these greens extending from the waters to the east of the US down into Florida, into the Gulf, and we're seeing the same thing on the GFS. So will this be a frontal system that makes it far south, that brings us rainfall and maybe some cooler than average temperatures? We have to stay tuned to find out. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that over the next 7 days, the most rainfall as usual should be wherever we have the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. That represents what we see here on the key on the right, anywhere from 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall. And we see that across eastern Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, into sections of Colombia, section of Venezuela, so too section of Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago getting in on some of the action. And we know that those areas could get in on some amount of isolated flash flooding for sure, while other areas that are shaded in green, yellows, oranges, and red should be getting on at least an inch or less of rainfall. You know, we're talking about much of Central America into the Greater Antilles and the Lesser Antilles. But if we zoom in on Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, let us see what's going to be taking place. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS as well are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Thursday, November 27, and we see the greens into the slight yellows on both the Euro and the GFS malls, especially across the northeastern end. That represents up to anywhere from 15 maybe up to 30 millimeters of rainfall in some spots. Clearly today we had a lot of that, because remember how colorful yesterday was for the next 7 days. So clearly a lot of that rainfall that we saw with all of those colors fell over the past 48 hours for sure. And there's still a lot more to come. Taking a look at what's happening across the rest of the basin. As stated, we have a trough right here bringing some rainfall to portions of the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba. We also have another trough right here to the south of Haiti. We see that moisture pushing from east to west. We also see another trough bringing some decent rainfall, even though we didn't see this trough on the surface, man. A lot of it is associated with the intertropical convergence zone. A lot of moisture pushing into Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Venezuela as we speak. That is what the Doppler radar images are showing. So let's get down to Puerto Rico. Not really seeing much across the St. Martin or St. Kitts area, but we do see some hit or miss. Lot of moderate rainfall in the greens in and around Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, to the east of Antigua and Barbuda, affecting Dominica to the southeast of Guadeloupe. We see a lot of that. Loading these images from earlier today, we saw rainfall across southern Puerto Rico as well. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, I mean, look at the amount of moisture in the blues and the greens, light to moderate, even some heavy rainfall affecting Trinidad and Tobago, especially the waters to the east of there. We're seeing some moisture pushing from east to west towards Grenada, St. Vincent, getting in some amount of rainfall earlier today. We also see some moisture that affected section of St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica. And if we take a look at the weather VF Doppler radar images, we can make out some rainfall into Belize, northern Guatemala, section of Yucatan. We see some rainfall into Colombia. And if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that there should definitely be some amount of rainfall from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday across, especially the areas that we have the reds that represents up to an inch of rainfall. Well, definitely less rainfall in the oranges, yellows, and the greens for other areas. So, you know, there's definitely going to be some amount of rainfall, especially for sections of Honduras into Nicaragua, Honduras into Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, sections of Venezuela, so to Guyana, section of Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, so to sections of Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe getting in on some of the action. And we also see rainfall especially expected for portions of the Dominican Republic, so to the southern Bahamas, sections of Haiti, southeastern Cuba, Jamaica, section of northeastern Honduras, Belize into the eastern Yucatan. And we clearly see that the Euro and the GFS modes are in agreement with this forecast. Even the ABC Islands getting in some amount of moisture as well. Taking a look at what's happening on the eastern Pacific side of things, not much of anything, as you can see here is the latest 3:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why nothing trying to develop across the eastern Pacific at all. The next name on the list is Sonia. Doesn't seem like we're going to be acquiring that name at all. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center showing no suspect areas across the Western Pacific. Nothing for Japan, it's North or South Korea, China, Taiwan, the Philippines, Vietnam. Nothing over there in the Western Pacific. But we're still watching the Southern Indian Ocean. Or is this the Southern West Pacific? I don't know, but it's right here to the north of Australia, and we see something spinning. We're still watching Tropical Cyclone Fina. We've been watching this system for the past 3 days. We see it right here spinning clockwise on the southern hemisphere. They spin clockwise in our neck of the woods. On the northern hemisphere, they spin counterclockwise. As of right now, Tropical Cyclone Fina is packing 60 knot winds. We know that systems that pack 60 knot winds are classified as high-end tropical storms, so anywhere from 34 to 64 knot winds. Definitely high-end tropical storm. Definitely close to category 1 hurricane status. It is expected to continue moving slowly towards the southwest, picking up intensity as it brushes the northern coastline of Australia. 65 knots, 70 knots, 70 knots, 65 knots. So it is getting up there into category 1 status. Anywhere from 65 to 83 knots are categorized as category 1. And we see how slow it's moving. I mean, November 21, it's still right here. November 22, still right here. November 23 down in here as it continues to push out towards the southwest. Definitely making landfall at some points within its journey towards the southwest. It's gonna be some amount of damage coming out. I know the footage is gonna be coming out, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with all of that. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.